Hey there everyone, I am Jeff. This is Tabletop Toolbox, and today I wanted to do something a little fun. I want to revisit a list that I filmed earlier this year of the top 10 games I was most excited to check out and play in the year of 2024. Just going to go through them and let you know what I think of them, and I think this list will be fairly short and sweet, and you'll see why. Okay, I'm going to grab my cheat sheet here just to make this a little easier. My first game on the list was actually kind of my 10.2, again, sort of an honorary mention. This was Philharmonix by Arcona Games, and I had this on the list because I was fairly confident that it was not actually going to come out this year. The Kickstarter had not even yet happened by that time. It has since happened, it funded successfully, but it has an expected delivery date of May of 2025. So I wasn't really expecting to see that, and I haven't seen it, but I am still very excited to check out Philharmonix. Up next was Civolution. This was kind of my official number 10. This is a Stefan Feld game. I have not played this. It has just come out fairly recently. In fact, I saw several copies for sale just this past weekend at the PAX Unplugged Games convention up in Philadelphia. I, however, have decided not to pick up a copy of this. I've done a fair amount of research on it. It is a very, very big game, very, very big production, tons of pieces and components, also tons of actions and rules to learn, tons of different scoring conditions and criteria. It is just being billed as this very sort of kitchen sink. Just everything seems to be in this game. It's also been described as a bit of a Castles of Burgundy on steroids. Now, I did like Castles of Burgundy. It's an okay game, but I'm just not a big sort of a dice chucking gaming kind of person. And so as I've been learning that this is a bit more dependent on the dice, and the dice can be, they can sort of hurt you a little bit more in this game than it can in Castles of Burgundy, I've decided to keep an eye out for a chance to play this, but I did not opt to purchase it. So hopefully at some point I will still get to check out Civolution, my official number 10. Up next is Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Enfolders. This game did come out this year. In fact, it delivered here maybe just about 2 months ago. I've already gotten a couple games of this in, and I do really like this. So this is the third game in the Tidal Blades universe. The first was this kind of a worker placement, dice upgrading, almost sort of a, maybe a real light RPG, if you will. The second was a trick-taking game. I didn't care for that one at all, but it was also kind of a sort of an add-on almost. It's in the universe of Tidal Blades, but doesn't really advance the story too much. It was just sort of a side project that they did. This one is a dungeon crawler game with sort of a you've got this matrix of cards in front of you, a 3x3 grid. You're playing cards into that matrix and then triggering either the row or column that card went in, and you're using those actions to move around this board, attack enemies, upgrade various attributes of yours. There is sort of a leveling up system that happens between your missions. Like I said, I'm only 2 games into this so far, but I do really like the Tidal Blades universe. I really love the art and just the look of this game, and so far, my wife and I actually have had quite a bit of fun playing Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Enfolders, number 9 from this list. Number 8 was Robot Quest Arena Bot Battle. This was an expansion to the very popular game of Robot Quest Arena by Wise Wizard Games, same company that made Star Realms. I have absolutely loved Robot Quest Arena from the very first time I played it at the Dice Tower Retreat a couple of years ago, and all that Bot Battle adds is more bots, more stuff, more cards, more components. I believe both a larger and a smaller play field to accommodate some different player counts, and I'm just very, very excited for this. However, it has not yet come out, so I can't have I don't have any additional information yet on Robot Quest Arena Bot Battle. The next game on this list was Critter Kitchen. This is from Cardboard Alchemy, designed by Alex Cutler and Peter Haywood. This game is not out yet, and in fact, I haven't gone out and checked the recent updates on this game. I do still think it will deliver here fairly soon, but no major news on this one quite yet. My number 7, Critter Kitchen. Number 6 was Andromeda's Edge. This was also by Cardboard Alchemy and designed by Luke and Maximus Laurie. I actually just met Luke over the weekend at PAX Unplugged. This game did come out. I have actually gotten quite a number of plays in of it, and I must say that it didn't quite live up to my expectations or sort of what I was hoping to get out of this game. This is a spiritual successor to the game Dwellings of Eldervale, which was this sort of large worker placement idea idea of a game where you're building out this map and you were fighting monsters. You had sort of a engine building element as you're placing these various, I believe there are cards or tiles out that would give you additional abilities throughout the game. And Andromeda's Edge turns all that into a space game. And you're moving about this board of these kind of flattened hexagonal tiles. You've got to, same thing, you got to fight enemies. You're adding modules to sort of a space station, if you will, managing your resources. And at some point, you're pulling all of your workers back and triggering off any or all of these modules that you've installed in your base. I like the theme of the game for sure. I like the, I love the sci-fi theme. For me, what I've seen so far out of this game is it is just a real crapshoot as far as, are you going to get the modules that really work for your faction, your asymmetrical, sort of abilities that you have from the beginning of the game? Are you going to get tactics cards in play or in your hand that are going to, again, work for what you're trying to do? I've had games of this where I don't get out the good tiles, I don't get the good cards, and I just kind of sit there and spin throughout the entire game, watching other players just take off with their various engines. I'm just a little... I feel it's a lackluster approach where all you're really trying to do is climb up these tracks. You will make some of these purchases, you'll buy some of these modules, or make certain moves in the game just to climb up these tracks, because that is the majority of the scoring at the end of the game. And if you don't get up those tracks, you don't have a good chance of winning. And I just kind of feel like boiling it all down into that end game scoring criteria, just, I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. Glad I got to play it. At some point I'll probably be parting with my copy of Andromeda's Edge, my number 6. Number 5 is Gilded Realms. This has a list of designers under its credit, and I believe it was indie published. It says Sandtime as a publisher. This was a Kickstarter project. It is not out yet, and I actually don't know right now when it's supposed to deliver. I have a $2 pledge out for this game, and I've decided not to upgrade it to a full-blown pledge. The game visually looks really, really neat. It's this idea of kind of building out and upgrading a civilization sort of back in, maybe an ancient era with castles and such like that over multiple phases. But it has this aspect where either at the beginning of each round or at the end of the previous round, whenever it may be, you kind of have to make a guess as to whether you think that the next round is going to be a military round where there's going to be lots of fighting, or a sort of a production round where you're going to have lots of growth and producing lots of resources. And if you guess incorrectly, then you're just not going to get as much done that turn. And I don't know, that to me just doesn't seem... It takes me away from that theme. It doesn't seem very interesting. I don't kind of like this idea of... I sort of gear up to do something and then that thing just doesn't happen, and it's all just because of a 50-50 coin flip of sorts. So I've decided not to get to my number 5, Gilded Realms. Number 4 is Galactic Cruise. This is from Kinson Key Games. Again, it has sort of a list of designers. This game is still not out yet. I was kind of thinking it might be due by now. I actually don't know what the current expected delivery date is of this. I did have a chance to play this. I didn't take it, but there was a copy at Dice Tower East this year. Someone had actually paid big bucks to get one of the early production or sort of late prototype copies of that game. I've heard good things about it. I am so very excited to check this out, but don't yet have Galactic Cruise. My number 4. Number 3 in this list is Let's Go to Japan. This is from Josh Wood and AEG. I've actually talked about this game a number of times. It did make my top 10 games of the year out on the Dice Tower channel, and I think this game is pretty good. It's a lot of fun. This is sort of a tableau builder, if you will, of trying to plan your own trip to Japan. And there's a neat backstory to this, in that the designer was planning a trip to Japan that then ended up getting canceled because of COVID-19. And I think the game is really brilliantly done. The artwork is just fantastic. The whole look of the game, which granted I do have the deluxe Kickstarter edition, but it looks very fantastic. My daughter loves this game. She's very big into sort of Japanese culture, Japanese cuisine, kind of all that stuff. And so she really loves playing this game. The only thing for me is that I've played it a number of times, as obviously my daughter loves playing it, and I feel like I've mostly seen everything. Each card is in the game at least twice, and so even though there are these sort of giant decks of cards in the game, it doesn't take many plays to see everything that it has to offer. There are some sort of small expansions or variants that came with it. We've tried those just a little bit, and they do add a little bit more of a puzzle challenge to the game, which is certainly fun, but it is otherwise a fairly lightweight game. And so if you're if you're looking for a real nice experience, it's certainly a great game. I just don't know that it's something that really shines after multiple plays, but still something we've had a lot of fun with. Let's go to Japan. Number 2 in this list was Starship Interstellar. This is from David Causa, Andrea Crespi, and was produced by Pendragon Game Studio. This game did deliver. In fact, it came in several months ago. I've only had one chance to play it, and the main reason for that is that it is a massive production. In fact, there would be no way to fit even a portion of the game into this shot that I have right here. Tons of components, 2 massive boards, lots and lots and lots of rules, lots and lots of things going on in this game, but it just feels a little obtuse. It doesn't necessarily feel like all these systems click together the way that you would expect them to, and it's a little difficult for me to put my finger on it, really. I did enjoy my playthrough of this. I do think there's kind of a right and wrong way definitely to play this game, and if you kind of go too far down the wrong path, you just will not be able to turn things around. There's this sort of weird element in that the resources that you get are spent almost one for one on things that you want to do, either people that you're trying to save or upgrades that you're trying to build or buy. And so it just becomes very difficult to sort of understand the value of resources. You're obviously looking for the most valuable stuff, but maybe that's not exactly what you want. It just, again, it's difficult to wrap your head around. And I suspect I would need multiple plays to get the most out of this game. And I just don't know that I'm going to get to do that because of how massive and unwieldy and just sort of unwelcoming almost that this game looks like, at least to other folks. So anyways, I'm hoping to play this a little bit more. I don't know that I'm going to get a chance to do that. But again, I'm a little mixed on myself. My number 2, Starship Interstellar. The last game on this list, again, the top 10 games I was most excited for this year, is Meadow Adventure Book. This is from Rebel Studio, and this is the, I believe, second major expansion, at least, to the game of Meadow, which is one of my all-time favorite games. I absolutely love the illustration of this game, this sort of almost watercolor look to various animals and plants and just all kinds of stuff that makes this game one of the most beautiful games in my collection. I can't remember the name of the first expansion off the top of my head, but it was this sort of water themed. You're going down, various rivers, and again taking in just this beautiful illustration. Adventure Book adds this additional module. It actually replaces the campfire board of the original game, and it cannot be played with the first expansion. In that campfire board, you were trying to sort of match up sets of these symbols that you're placing out on these cards, or that are on the cards that you're placing out. And if you can get 2 of these symbols, you would go and sort of almost like tell the story of these things that you've seen, and you would just do that to score points. With Adventure Book, that board gets replaced with a book that actually has, I believe, 5 or 6 different modules in it, and you only ever play one of them at any given time. And they change up the way that additional scoring happens. You're still building that meadow of cards in front of you, which kind of has this almost evolutionary type tree to it, or sort of the idea of a food chain, if you will, in that various cards will require the symbols on other cards. So for example, if you want to play a bird card, you may have to cover up an insect card, as obviously that bird sort of eats that insect. Or maybe it needs to live in a certain environment, be it trees or certain types of plains. And so again, you have to have those symbols present and maybe even cover up those symbols in order to play that next card. And you're still doing that in all these variants of Meadow, but it's this sort of side element. It's this additional scoring that, again, used to be handled by a campfire board, and now it's handled by this adventure book. I got to play one of these modules at the Dice Tower Retreat this year. It was a hot air balloon theme, and it definitely significantly changed the game because you're still focused on this meadow, but with the hot air balloon module, there were these, you're still trying to pair up these symbols, but it would actually change throughout the game. There's this magnet in the middle of each of these pages, and there's these sort of spinning wheels and extra components. Again, each of these modules is quite different, and they will score differently, and I don't know anything about those other modules, but it definitely increased the challenge of the game. It sort of distracted me, at least a little bit, from building that meadow, and it was interesting, and I would definitely like to check out more of this. I'm actually trying to get my hands on a review copy of this game from Rebel Studio. Haven't quite managed to do that just yet. So I'll get to play this more, but I have only gotten to play it once. I enjoyed that playthrough, and I'm looking forward to checking out more of my number one anticipated game of 2024, Meadow Adventure Book. I'm going to be working next on a list of anticipated games for 2025. Actually, I already have that list done, and it's right here, and I'm not going to tell you about it. But what I will tell you is that none of the games that did not come out this year are going to be on that list. I'm going to make it a completely unique list, and maybe at the end of it, I'll kind of rank where those other games might fit in. There are thousands of games that come out each year, and it is so difficult to even keep on top of what is coming out and when it's coming out and when it might actually, show up on shelves and that kind of a thing. So this has always been a unique and interesting and kind of a fun challenge to put together these anticipated lists of games. That's it for today, though. Thanks so much for watching, and I will chat with you folks soon. Cheers.